Oh shit! Oh shit!
Where's the fucking keys? This is what happens when you live in Colorado.
It was like 75 degrees and sunny today, and now it's like this, so.
Well, how typical is it that right when we're about to record this video, it starts hailing and raining outside? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Around the Block. My name is Gabe Mooneyham.
And I'm Marshall Owens, and you're watching Mile High Misfits. Alright, so this is our first episode of our new series where we're just going to discuss random topics that we feel like need to be discussed. You might be wondering why it's called Around the Block, but if you failed to notice, Gabe's college art project is on the floor, which is a V6 Mustang engine block, and
Rod knock.
Yeah,
Rod knock.
It had rod knock, and he got a B on it. So for that, leave a like.
I think this thing is much better than B worthy, but we'll leave you guys to decide that. So to start off this series, we are going to discuss today why Colorado is the worst state to live in for car enthusiasts. So the first item on the docket we're going to discuss today is snow, hail, and other elements in Colorado. So obviously we live in Colorado. There's going to be snow, there's going to be ice, and so you need either a four-wheel drive car or an all-wheel drive car to get around during the winter. Some people are fortunate enough to have two cars. That's great. If you can do that, that's good. But one element that not a whole lot of people know about Colorado is that it hails constantly. Marshall and I are all too familiar with the hail because last month my truck got totally borked by the hail, and so did your car, right?
Yeah, my E46 got hailed on pretty bad, but living here the whole time in Colorado, I've had cars hailed on like at least 3 times in the past 4 or 5 years now, so it's pretty bad, and it seems like this was the worst year that I can remember in recent memory. It's just getting worse, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes you can find a parking garage or an overhang that like will save your car, but it'll hit you out of nowhere. Like it won't even be on the weather for the day. It'll be sunny and 75 degrees. Like just before we shot this video, you know, like I pulled the Corvette outside for 5 minutes and then it starts hailing on it. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you think you can have a garage and be fine, but one time I was sitting in traffic and literally my car just started getting wailed on by the hail. And I like had to pull off the road. I almost got stuck because the hail just piles up. And I'm in the E46 just spinning everywhere. It's bad. It was bad. Okay, so the next topic is going to be road conditions in Colorado. Now I know some of you guys live in the Midwest who might be watching and might want to talk some smack on us, but the roads out here, if you've ever driven here, they're not the best. So not very low car friendly. Gabe, maybe you can explain some recent encounters.
Yeah, so I was driving my Corvette to work just 2 weeks after I bought it, right? And on one of the roads where they were doing construction, there was a manhole cover that was sticking up like much higher than the road, and I just did not have time to get over because there was a bus next to me, and so I had to drive over it in the vet, and it totally obliterated my radiator 2 weeks after I bought it. So that just proves, folks, it is very hard to have anything nice in Colorado.
So one of the major symptoms we see of like bad traffic in Colorado is like major lane closures. So one summer I was driving to Denver for work and commuting back home to the Springs, which is usually about an hour and a half, but coming home at night it would take me about 2 or 2.5 hours even, because they would close I-25, our main interstate, down to one lane. And it's not even just the interstate, it's really like all the roads, like Academy right now in the Springs, like it's just year-round construction, trying to keep up with, deteriorating roads from the winter conditions. So it's kind of something we see often here. It's a little different than other places.
So looping into construction, obviously potholes are a huge issue here. I don't know if you know anybody with a lowered car that lives in Colorado, but they've probably gone through quite a few sets of wheels, a lot of shocks. I mean, it's impossible to stay away from all the potholes. And I mean, some of them I know you've seen have been like 6 inches deep. And that's huge.
I've bent a wheel or two. You know someone in Colorado who's bent a wheel or two on some of these potholes, but that's just life here.
Yep. you can't avoid it. It's Colorado, and you're going to have shit roads.
All right, so this wouldn't be a true Colorado discussion without talking about the other drivers here. So we live in Colorado Springs. We're a big military town, so we get a lot of influx of different driving styles in one place. So it's pretty bad driving here. We get a lot of road rage. I don't know, Gabe, if you've ever had a road rage incident that's worth noting, but yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. There have been a few times that people have cut me off to the point that you're flying off the road, or they brake check the crap out of you. I mean, and in Colorado, I mean, it's not as bad as Miami. I'm not gonna start talking like that, but it's still ranked one of the worst states for drivers, I believe, in the United States. So that'll tell you something. So another thing that we wanted to bring up is the housing prices around here are pretty insanely expensive, at least in 2023. With the hail the way it is and the elements obviously beating down on your car, you're going to have, all kinds of damage if you don't have a garage. So, trying to find a house that does have at least a 2-car garage, right? I mean, if you have a significant other going to be sharing the house with you, you are going to need some cover from the elements. I mean, I know that you feel that way, same.
Yeah, it's tough out here. Like housing, especially housing with garages, like not even just houses, like apartments, townhouses. Like it's hard to find stuff with 2-car garages that are affordable. If you're trying to work on your car even, it's you absolutely need a garage. Like in the wintertime, you don't want to be outside working in the snow on the automobiles. You guys see us do it on the channel here, but I wouldn't recommend it.
So one thing that a lot of people don't know, especially if you haven't lived here, is the car scene in Colorado has dwindled significantly. I remember when I was in high school, I used to be able to go to car meets and all kinds of stuff, and it was always a lot of fun. But over the past, probably 5 years, it's been just going downhill so much. There's a lot of crime at the car meets and stuff that
it just didn't used to be like that, man.
Yeah,
it just didn't used to be like that.
It's not fun like it used to be. Like you're kind of like looking over your shoulder, and people are
the turnout's always bad. Regular traffic at car meets. It's awful. People pulling up in their mom's Outback.
Yeah.
Like not even lowered. At least lower your mom's Outback.
Yeah, at least get the springs. Come on, get some balls.
Bring it to the meat. But it's been hard. Like it's been discouraging a little bit. Like it's hard to meet people who are like-minded. Obviously, we have an okay track scene. We have about 3 racetracks in Colorado. PPIR is a pretty cool track, so I mean it's fun to go there and hang out with the drift scene. But it comes with its own drama and stuff, and it's just hard to get out and go to good events now. I mean, we don't talk about car shows in Colorado. Like they aren't what they used to be. We have some great people who are our friends who are putting on really cool shows.
Yeah, shout out to Peaked.
Yeah, Peaked is cool. It's trying to bring a little bit of like that spirit back, and be really inclusive while doing that. So we do appreciate people in the grassroots show scene like that. But
yeah, definitely. And I mean, going back to regular traffic at the car meets, I mean, if you don't see at least 20 Subarus at every car meet you go to, you're not at a Colorado car meet. So, that's just how it is here. I mean, it's kind of dwindling. I don't want, the car scene to die out in Colorado. So if you have a cool car, try and come out sometimes, and get to know everybody, and hopefully we can kind of get that spirit back.
Okay, so the next talking point we're going to discuss real quick kind of ties in with the car scene here, which is how car enthusiasts and the police have some friction between them, at least in Colorado Springs, probably Denver as well.
Oh yeah.
It's just we have a bad reputation. A lot of the times it's just one bad apple will spoil the bunch. Mm-hmm. With takeovers and stuff. Obviously, it's kind of a problem throughout the car community, not just here, but it's definitely symptomatic, and we don't appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it comes to like takeovers and all that kind of stuff as well, I mean, that kind of ties in with it. You don't have to be part of that whole scene, but cops see that and they're just kind of like, oh well.
If you got a cool car, I'm gonna pull you over.
Yeah, it's everybody, so. Yeah, not much you can do about that. So I wanted to add something to this podcast that I saw online today. I found this study that was from the finance website Wallet Hub. So the state was ranked 46th on the list of best and worst states to drive in this year, as reported by personal finance website Wallet Hub. That's because the report found gas is expensive, roads are in bad shape, cars get stolen, and rush hour is a nightmare compared to other states.
Dude, I feel like people in California are going to be angry at us. I just got back from California. Gas is like $7 a gallon there.
That is true. I mean, traffic...
The study doesn't lie, though.
That is true. The study never lies. Gas is not as expensive as some places like, California and some parts of Florida and, I don't know, some other spots. But the study went on to say that the report compared all 50 states across 4 key dimensions: cost of vehicle ownership, maintenance, traffic and infrastructure, and safety and access to vehicles. When the total score came out, Colorado was 5th worst, faring better than California, Washington, Rhode Island, and Hawaii, and Iowa was actually the worst state to drive in.
Sorry, Iowa.
Yeah, sorry. Iowa sucks. That was from the Denver Post, by the way. So, obviously, they're not lying because they're local. They know what's going on around here. But
yeah, the news never lies to us.
yeah, so don't you guys know that the media doesn't lie to anybody ever?
That's why we believe this.
Yeah, they're completely unbiased, obviously,
Yeah,
because
obviously.
that's how media is.
So this next part, we're just kind of asking ourselves a question: why, as a car guy, do we not like living here or want to consider moving? Maybe. Something interesting to consider maybe would be the prices of vehicles here are definitely command a higher premium compared to other places. Whenever I'm looking at cars online, Colorado vehicles seem to just have a higher premium with them, especially all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive vehicles.
Yep.
Like if you want to get a truck, everyone talks about going out of state to get a truck, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of the nice thing, I guess, would be, cars don't rust as much here because we don't salt our roads as much as other places. But at the same time, it doesn't seem fair, the cost of vehicles out here compared to other places.
That is true. Yeah, and I mean, kind of when I was thinking the same question, I'm like, well, why do I dislike living in Colorado? I mean, for me, it's not as much about cost of vehicles necessarily. I still don't like that. I guess for me, it's definitely more the elements, like we discussed before.
Oh yeah.
I am not a man that enjoys the snow, getting up at 6 in the morning and
shoveling the car off.
Yeah, shoveling the car off, scraping off the windshield, and having to sit in the car in the ass-biting cold until it warms up. So that's a big one for me. And then obviously the hail. Like, my truck, I got it off Copart, rebuilt it. I felt great about it. Got the new hood, fender, bumper painted, and then all of a sudden it gets hailed on and trashed. So it just feels disrespectful at a point.
Right.
Like after you're working on a car for so long, you put so much time and energy into it, and then it just gets destroyed like that. So
another thing, real quick, while you're talking about the elements, I was thinking about the sun. So when you think about Colorado, like it's high elevation compared to a coast city. So that means there's a lot more, a lot less atmosphere and a lot more UV rays coming through. So when you look at the paint on older cars out here, especially cars that have been sitting outside their whole lives, super faded paint. Like you're constantly fighting the sun and the elements. It's super hard to keep your car clean here too, by the way.
That is so true.
We get rain, we get snow, we get pollen. Like, it's just, it's never good. If you own a black vehicle out here, it's not good. Okay, so another thing, we're talking about elements, road conditions. Again, your car just gets beat up out here. Like, Colorado as a state, we don't salt our roads like, what happens in the Midwest and the East Coast. But we do put magnesium chloride on the roads, and we do use a lot of gravel to provide traction when it's snowy outside.
Yeah, and because of that, you will be driving down I-25 and just listening to music, hanging out, everything's good. And then all of a sudden you hear like a big whack, and all of a sudden you got a spiderweb windshield. And I mean, that happens so much. I think in Colorado, I need a new windshield probably once a year just because of how many rocks hit my windshield. And it's just, again, it's impossible to keep things clean here. Like, you'll get rock chips on the hood as well. You'll get them on your bumper. It'll knock out, emblems on the grill. You will see some significant damage just from rocks just flying up on the highway.
Okay, so we saved the best one for last. So we're going to talk real quick about the death of trap culture. case example, steady case scenario number one, which is Bandimere Speedway, which used to be, up in Denver, close to Golden, Colorado. Famous quarter-mile drag strip, super famous quarter-mile drag strip, and they're shutting it down this year. I think they shut it down already.
I think so. Yeah, I think they just had their last event.
And it's just a heartbreaker because, all our parents who live, and grew up in Colorado went there for different racing events throughout, the season and stuff in years past. But it's really upsetting because the reason they're shutting it down is because there's a big expansion, lots of people moving into Colorado, expanding of houses, and so people who are moving close to Bandimere, they've been fighting it for years. Just noise complaints against the racetrack, trying to shut it down, and finally, money talks, the owners sold it, they finally found the number they liked, I guess, but it's a combination of not just money. It's really just people dogging on the racetrack, moving close to the racetrack. Don't live next to the racetrack.
Exactly. You bought a house near a racetrack. You knew it was going to be loud, so deal with it. We're not going to shut down because of noise complaints. That's bullshit. Let's be honest.
We're scared. We don't want them to close more tracks. We've got our local track in Colorado, PPIR. Yep. Houses are moving closer to there. We're hoping that doesn't happen at the same time, but we're going to cling to these racetracks, life or death, that we got left.
Well, I think that's all we got for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching our first episode of Around the Block. We have more coming out soon. If you guys have any thoughts on whether you agree or disagree with this video or anything that we said in the video, leave it down in the comments below and we'll argue with you about it as much as your heart desires. So we will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.